Welcome and thanks for joining me on Talk the Walk. I'm Sarah Wong. This week, the National People's Congress Standing Committee passed a resolution granting local government power to unseat 4 lawmakers engaged in filibustering in the Legislative Council. 19 pro-democracy legislators have threatened to resign all at once if any of them are disqualified. Beijing has long condemned filibustering as interference, but critics have decried such allegations as deliberate attempt to muzzle opposition. This begs the question, is Hong Kong's political freedom at risk? And what about its rule of law? With so much at stake, let's bring in Executive Councilor and Senior Counsel Ronny Tong. Mr. Tong, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Well, I think, first of all, I've listened to your introduction. It's contained quite a number of serious errors.
All right, let's hear it out.
Yeah, I think let's get it clear one by one. First of all, the resolution of the NPCSC does not grant power to the SAR government to disqualify anybody at will. Doesn't do that, sorry. What it does, it basically are 2 things. First of all, it gives a more detailed meaning to the concept of what constitutes upholding the basic law and being loyal to the Hong Kong SAR as required by the oath to be taken by all legislators when they assume office. So from now on, when you ask whether somebody is upholding, is prepared to uphold the basic law and be loyal to the SAR government, it would include a number of connected concepts. Like, for example, you cannot advocate independence of Hong Kong. You cannot deny the sovereign power of the central government, Hong Kong being part of China. You cannot seek foreign intervention of Hong Kong affairs. For example, ask foreign powers to sanction China or sanction Hong Kong or certain individuals in Hong Kong or China, or do anything which would harm the national security of the nation. If you were to do that, then, and there is a legal process by which you are determined that you are not holding the basic law, then you would lose your seat in LegCo automatically, immediately. So it is nothing to do with what the SAR government does or say. In other words, it is not that Carrie Lam comes out before the camera and say, oh, I want to DQ A, B, C, and D, and they then will be DQ or disqualified. That's not the case at all. Now, what the resolution then say is that the decision of the election officer in July constitutes a legal decision. In other words, a decision which carries legal effect. And that decision determined that at least 4 of the legislators seeking re-election were not qualified to seek re-election because they did not uphold the basic law.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Okay, I just finished.
Yeah, please go ahead, please.
There's no point interviewing me if you don't allow me to finish, right? And because the error that you made are quite serious, and so it is important to make it clear, all right? Bear with me. So what I'm saying is that the election officer's decision is the decision which leads to the disqualification of 4 legislators. It's not to do with what Carrie Lam said or what the government say. Now, the other very serious error you made is that the resolution of the NPCSC is directed towards conduct which would harm national security, which would harm territorial integrity, and China exercises sovereignty over Hong Kong. It is not that all opposition will be automatically disqualified. Nothing of the sort, right? You can continue to oppose Carrie Lam's government or her policies. You can continue to ridicule the central government, but if you were to advocate independence or to do things which would harm the national security, then you would be met with the legal consequence of not being able to run for office and not being able to stay in the office. So it is not something which automatically outlaw or disqualify all legislators who are in the opposition.
True.
That's quite wrong.
And yeah, and I don't think I quite said they will give the power to the government, the SAR government, to outlaw all the opposition. I said specifically that 4 lawmakers were outlawed given the resolution endorsed by China's top legislative body. But I do have one follow-up question on this. You said it doesn't mean that Carrie Lam has the ultimate ultimate authority to outlaw, stifle opposition, and that's true. But the NPCSC resolution did give the SAR government power to bypass the local courts and then to make the decision, is it not?
No, there's nothing of the sort. What people must understand that the election officers is a legal decision. It has legal consequences. Its powers were derived from a piece of legislation passed by LegCo, all right? And there was never any requirement under the election laws that you should first seek the decision of the courts. However, under the election laws, when the election officer made a decision which is detrimental to a candidate, he is entitled to appeal by way of a petition within 1 month of the decision. On top of that, he is, of course, also entitled to seek judicial review of the officer's decision, or the returning officer's decision. So there's nothing to do with, bypassing the court. What do you mean by that? The law has provided adequate and proper avenues for this issue to be determined by the court if necessary. Now, but in this particular case, about these 4 legislators, as far as I remember, I may get it wrong, but as far as I remember, they did not challenge the returning officer's decision. There was no election petition filed within 1 month, and clearly we're now out of time. There was no judicial review filed in relation to that decision either. And a judicial review, according to our rules, has got to be filed within 3 months of the returning officer, or the election officer's decision. And we're now in the middle of November. The decision was made in the beginning of July, so obviously that is apparently also time bar, unless the court is prepared to extend time. So it is totally untrue and misleading to say that the court is being bypassed.
What about Basic Law, Article 79, that states that 2/3 of the legislators need to approve if any legislators was to be disqualified?
There you're talking about a legislator.
What's different? Yeah, what's the difference?
Breaching the oath. We're not here talking about breaching an oath. If you look at the decision of the election officer, I believe it was a she, right? I may be wrong. But she never mentioned about breach of the oath. She said that this person could not be regarded as prepared to uphold the basic law, and could not be regarded as being loyal to the SAR government. That is a decision as regards the present intention or his attitude towards the political system. There was no accusation that anybody was acting in breach of the oath. Whereas under Basic Law, Article 79, Paragraph 7, what is being referred to there was that if a legislator were to act in breach of the oath, then he could be disqualified under the procedure there, right? So it's a different procedure. It doesn't mean that that particular procedure, that is the one under Basic Law, would be sidelined or becomes otiose or become useless because of this resolution of the MPCSC. They're dealing with two different things.
Then why disqualify them now? They were disbarred in July, and they were allowed to serve the extended one-year legislative term by July by the Hong Kong government. And why disqualify them now? What changed?
Wait a minute. The extension of office was an extension of all legislators. It wasn't a decision that all of them has got the necessary requirement of being in a position to uphold the Basic Law. The resolution was made. Now, yes, I agree with you. It probably would be better if this resolution was passed at the same time as the decision to extend office of all legislators. But nevertheless, this resolution is dealing with targeting a specific, certain specific legislators, dealing with their attitude under the Basic Law, whether they are upholding the Basic Law or being loyal to the SAR government. So again, there is a difference there. But I agree with you. I mean, I would prefer to see that the resolution was made at the same time, and not now. But MPCSC is the highest legal and executive authority in China. Theoretically, they can do anything within the Constitution. And the Constitution, I'm talking about the Constitution of China, right? So they clearly has the legal power under the national constitution to make a resolution to ensure that the provisions in the Basic Law, which includes Article 104, are being properly carried out.
Okay, let's take a short break here. We'll be right back.